Hello everyone. This is Dr. Rajiv Gupta from Srimati M.D. Patel Institute of Physical Science and Research, Anand. The course name is BSc Chemistry. The semester is 5th semester. The subject is Analytical Chemistry. Its subject code is US05 CCHE24. The unit number is 2, which is chromatography first. In this lecture, I am going to talk on paper chromatography and its experimental details. It is the part 2 of this chromatography lecture. So, we have seen some things about paper chromatography, its basic simple introduction, its technique or principle, working principle, two types paper chromatographies, that are paper adsorption chromatography and paper partition chromatography, principle of separation, stationary phase and papers used in this experiment, which type of papers we can use that depend on our use sample. So we explained these all topics, how we prepare our paper, filter papers, how we prepare solutions, which type of solution or solvents as mobile phase we use, how we apply our sample on this paper, choice of solvents of mobile phase, then the chromatographic chamber as I discussed. Now development technique, ascending development techniques and descending development techniques. These two techniques I discussed. Then circular and radial development technique, where we use a circular filter paper for this process. And two-dimensional development, drying of chromatogram, detecting and visualizing agents. If our substance are colored, if our sample components which are present in our sample are colored, then these are visual with our naked eye. But if these substances are colorless, then some physical and chemical methods have to be applied to see the different spots which are arranged on this chromatogram. In physical methods, we use iodine chamber method and UV chamber method. In iodine chamber, the iodine vapors make visible that invisible spots, and in UV visible chamber, the fluorescent compounds or specific organic compounds which absorb UV light and make electron transfer or electron excitation, and when this electron comes back to its original state or ground state, then it radiates some energy in light form, then we can see this. So these are called fluorescent compounds. So using the UV chamber, we can see the various spots which are developed during our paper chromatography. Now specific methods, these are chemical methods or spraying methods, where a specific chemical will be applied on this used filter paper and the various spots will become visualized. If our sample component contains phenolic compounds and tannins, so in this case these compounds are generally colorless in nature, so ferric chloride solution will be applied to see these type of compounds. For amino acids, ninhydrin in acetone, this solution is applied. These compounds make complexes with these analytes and provides them a specific color. So viewing that color or that specific appearance in color, we can identify these spots of various components on this filter paper. For alkaloids, we can use Dragon-Drops reagent, and for cardiac glycosides 3,5-dinitrobenzoic acid. So these are the various reagents which can be applied over the developed chromatogram, and we can observe these various invisible or transparent substances. Following detecting technique can also be characterized as destructive techniques and non-destructive techniques. In destructive techniques, our sample will be lost during experiment, but in non-destructive techniques, we can recycle or we can again obtain our sample components or our sample. In destructive techniques, specific spray reagents samples destroyed before detection. Example, ninhydrin reagent. When we apply ninhydrin reagent, this ninhydrin reagent which is applied for actually amino acids, here when it is applied, then it destroy our sample or amino acids, or amino acid reacts with these ninhydrin reagent and changes make changes in their structures. In non-destructive techniques, actually all the chemical techniques, as we have seen earlier, these chemical methods or chemical techniques are actually destructive techniques where the structure or composition of a sample changed. But the physical methods which we have seen earlier, these physical methods means iodine chamber method and UV visible chamber method, these are non-destructive techniques because applying these techniques our sample composition or its chemical structure does not change, so we can again obtain back our sample components. For radiation active materials which are active for specific radiation like UV radiation, so this is a non-destructive technique. Here Geiger-Müller counter UV chamber is used for this type of non-destructive technique, also iodine chamber as I explained. Now quantitative estimations. So what we see here, this destructive and non-destructive technique, or by seeing the spots on this filter paper or chromatogram, we can just make an idea of the presence of a specific compound, means it's a qualitative analysis, but we cannot observe perfectly a quantitative, but only by a roughly imagine of the darkness of spot or its spreading of spot, we can imagine the, or we can observe the quantity of that substance present in sample, but the actual concentration or presence or quantity of that sample component will be estimated by this quantitative estimation. Here are some methods. These methods can be divided into two main groups: direct techniques and indirect techniques. In direct measurement method, comparison of visible spots. This is direct measurement method, means we can directly observe our spots roughly and make a decision that what quantity of that substance present in our sample. So it is a rough quantitative measurement, means comparison of visible spots. Suppose we are getting 2, 3, 4 spots, then we see the darkness or spreading nature of these spots on this filter paper. So it is a rough quantitative measurement, not exactly accurate, but a rough measurement. Component in a mixture can be carried out by comparing the intensity and size of the spot. See, intensity and size of the a sample spot is directly proportional, or we can say directly based on the amount of that particular substance with a standard substance. So we compare the intensity and size of that colored spot with a standard substance. So by this comparing, we can roughly analyze the quantity of that sample component. And the second is photodentistometry. Here a digital instrument is used for the quantitative analysis. This method is used with the chromatograms of colored compounds. So this technique, photodentistometry, is actually applied only for the colored compounds. Instrument which measures quantitatively the density of the spots. The spots which are present on our filter paper or stationary phase, the spots density over these filter paper or pores of filter paper, this dentistometry measures the quantity of that sample. So its name is dentistometry, means it densitometry means it measures density of that sample component on spot. Third is fluorimetry. The compound to be determined by fluorimetry must be fluorescent or convertible into fluorescent derivatives. So using UV visible chamber, we can see the different colorless spots, and the fluorescent intensity will be directly proportional to that amount of that sample. So the spots which are more bright during fluorescent, when they show fluorescent phenomena, if they are very bright, then we can say its amount is high in our sample component. So this is the basic technique, this is fluorometry. Now radio tracer methods. The compound containing radioactive element is labeled and treated with a locating reagent, so using Geiger-Müller counter. Polarographic and conductometric methods. These methods are used to measure the amount of material in the spot. In these conductometric methods and polarographic methods, we generally use 2 electrodes or 3 electrode systems. So in between these electrodes, the actual concentration of our sample component can be analyzed. Now indirect measurement methods. In this technique, the spots are cut into portions and eluted with solvents. See what we do here. In chromatogram, obtained chromatogram, the various colored spots which are present on our filter paper, the filter paper will be cut only on that spot sites. Means we may get small circular shape filter papers which contains these spots. Then we get a number of parts of filter papers which contains different spots. Suppose we get 5 spots, then we cut these filter paper into 5 parts, 5 spots, and these is each spot which contain only one sample component will be dissolved in a proper solvent for the further analysis. So what we do, these different spots will be eluted or will be separated from this filter paper, and these go into the proper solvent, and this solution which is uh, created by these spots can be analyzed by any techniques of analysis like spectrophotometry, electrochemical methods, etc. So it is very good method which is indirect method, where we dissolve our sample components from that filter paper to a specific solvent. Then this solution can be analyzed by various spectrophotometric like UV visible spectro or other NMR or IR, anything, or using these electrochemical methods. Now RF value, retardation factor value. In paper chromatography, the results are represented by RF value, which represent the movement or migration of solute relative to the solvent front. So this is the starting line in this paper chromatography. In this paper, filter paper, this is the starting line, and this is the solvent front. Solvent front where the solvent reaches, that is the last point where the solvent, our used solvent or mobile phase reaches. So in retardation factor, it shows the movement or migration of solute relative to solvent front. Relative to solvent front means we see the distance from this starting line. We compare the distance of travel distance of the solvent and our sample components. So what is the RF value? It is calculated as distance traveled by the solute or sample component upon distance traveled by the solvent front. So obviously we can observe here that the RF value for any sample component will be less than 1, because the solvent which is mobile phase travels faster compared to any sample component. Suppose if a sample component travels with solvent speed, with mobile phase speed, then we will get RF factor value as 1. If a sample component does not dissolve in our mobile phase and remains on the initial spot at this initial line, then we will get the RF value 0. So this is the distance traveled by solute upon distance traveled by the solvent front. So we can see that the RF value for this green component is lower than the RF value for this blue component. Now factors affecting RF value. The temperature. If the temperature, room temperature, we can say room temperature is, or laboratory temperature is high, or solvent temperature or mobile phase temperature is high or low, then the movement of that solvent or mobile phase or that sample components will be depend on this temperature. If temperature is high, then the solvent molecules will travel faster and make any difference in separation of sample components. This purity of the solvents used. So RF value also depends on the purity. If some purity is present in our solvents, then that purity may interference or may make changes during this separation. The quality of the paper, adsorbents and impurities present on the adsorbents. Adsorbents means our stationary phase. Our stationary phase quality, obviously this RF value will actually depends on this paper quality, adsorbents, which type of adsorbent we are using, adsorption, uh, what we are using means silica gel or alumina gel, impregnate paper. So depending on that polarity of the stationary phase and its nature, this RF value will be changed, and impurities which are present on adsorbent. The chamber saturation techniques, method of drying and development. Our used chamber, development chamber, is saturated or not during this paper chromatography experiment, that also affect the RF value. Generally, we do saturate our chamber by putting a lid over this chamber, so the vapors of our mobile phase could not go outside the chamber during experiment. Also, the method of drying and development also affect the RF values. The distance traveled by the solute and solvent, this actually depends on the solvent used. If we change our solvent, then these travel distance for the solvent as well as solute particles will be changed. So RF value will also be changed, because for different solutes or sample components, the changing the solvent or mobile phase, the interaction properties between solvent and solute also changed. Chemical reaction between the substances is being partitioned. So, if a chemical reaction occurs between the substances, so these RF value will also be changed. Also, the pH of the solution also affect the RF value, because in changed pH, the properties of various sample components also changed. Their uh, cationic or anionic or their polar nature will be changed as we change the pH of our solution or our used mobile phase. Now Rx value, in many cases it has been observed that the solvent front is run off the end of the paper. Rx value is thus used. So what is said here, the solvent or our used mobile phase reaches the end point of the paper, means top of the paper, top point of the paper, then in that case we use Rx values in place of RF values. It is the ratio of distance traveled by the sample and the distance traveled by the standard. It is the ratio of distance traveled by the sample and the distance traveled by the standard. Standard means our mobile phase. So Rx value is always closer to 1. Sources of error during application of the spots. We have to very carefully apply these sample on these filter papers. Generally very low amount of samples will be applied on this filter paper. So what we do, apply minimum volume of the concentrated solution in order to avoid diffusion. See, if we apply high amount of sample on the filter paper, then during experiment when the sample dissolve in mobile phase, then it may spread over filter paper due to diffusion. Okay, not for for diffusion and not by the actual interaction with stationary phase. So interaction with stationary phase as well as diffusion with that solvent both work simultaneously, so the result will not good. Okay, so in order to avoid diffusion where stationary phase work uh, or its role will be lesser or no role will be stationary phase. For stationary phase only mobile phase will move this this sample components over the filter paper, so this is called diffusion. So to stop this diffusion we use concentrated solution with very low volume, means a very small spot will be made over this filter paper. So due to this diffusion, the paper which leads to poor separation spots should be approximately of the same diameter. Development. During development some errors may occur. So actually what we see here, it is a human error. The first error, which is application of spot, this is human error, means human by mistake apply large amount of sample. Now development, improper adjustment of the paper in the tank leads to this error. So the paper should be held vertically. If our chromatographic paper is not exactly vertical and it is turned by any degree or by an angle, though, so we may get improper or poor separations, poor developments. So the paper should be held vertically very perfectly. Also we have to do our chamber saturated before starting the experiment. So we have to cover the uh, development chamber by a lid, so the atmosphere inside the chamber should be completely covered by the used mobile phase vapors. Third number is detection. The spraying methods affect the final result. This is also a human error where during spraying of any chemical reagent over chromatogram, then the obtained spots which are very close may be mixed up. Now applications of this paper chromatography technique, separation of mixtures of drugs during synthesis. When we are getting drug molecules in pharmaceutical industry, then these drugs which are produced could be present in a mixture form. So to make separation we use this simple technique. Separation of carbohydrates, vitamins, antibiotics, proteins, etc. These all type of molecules could also be separated using paper chromatography technique. Identification of drugs also. With separation we can also identify, because it is a qualitative and quantitative analysis technique. Identification of impurities. If some impurities are present in our sample, then we can identify them. Analysis of metabolites of drugs in blood and urine. These also can be analyzed. Advantages of paper chromatography: it is a very simple method and very inexpensive, because these filter papers which we use for one experiment, so to set up this simple experiment is very inexpensive. So this PC technique, paper chromatography, is very inexpensive and simple, means we can choose this chromatography technique to teach students in lower classes. It is a rapid technique, excellent resolving power. So these are the advantages of paper chromatography. Now, what are the precautions in paper chromatography? Establishing the vapor solvent equilibrium, stability of solvent mixture is first ensured. Thank you for listening the lecture.